Elementary staff, are they here somewhere? Oh, okay. First and foremost, let's give it up for them for letting us use their school. Thank you. Really appreciate this nice facility. Got to say, it brings back memories. All three of my children went to this school, so great school, great memories. I'm going to start this out this evening for those who wish to join me with an invocation. So if you feel so inclined, please stand and join me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for every day. We thank you for our country that we live in, where we can make decisions and have meetings like this in the open without fear of retribution. I ask that you put grace on my heart and all of our hearts as we tackle these tough issues and move forward. And we are so grateful for all the blessings you've bestowed upon us. Please wrap your arms around our country, our community, all our military, law enforcement, first responders. I ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, please remain standing and join me. The flag is over here. You like that? Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know there's a lot of things going on tonight in Pensacola. There's a lot of places you'd much rather be, I'm sure. I can say this with pretty good certainty. There's probably not a whole lot of country music fans here because we have Sugarland downtown and we got Jason Aldean at the Wharf. So I appreciate you being here. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks who would rather be at those concerts, but appreciate you being here. Before I get started, I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the staff that's present this evening. I think there's probably as many staff members as there are citizens tonight. So I appreciate the support of the staff. And if I forget anyone, please let me know, Jack. I want to place Jack Brown, our administrator, is here this evening. Thank you for being here, Jack. And I'm going to run down. I'm not going to give titles, but we'll run down the staff that's present. John Fisher's here, Joy Jones, Drew Holmer, Chris Kerb, Meredith Crawford, Charlie Gonzalez, Mike Rhodes, Allison's here, Mike Weaver, Sergeant Davis from Code Enforcement's here, Joyce Sabuka's here, Chips Kirchenfeld is here, Allison Woodfin is my intern for my office, my helper up front, she's here, Angela Crawley is here up front helping out, David Hero is on the camera here from our office, our CMR office, Rusty Nail, our new fire captain, is here this evening, and Matt Coughlin. Are there any staff members here that I've left off? I think I got everyone. So I think the staff here. So the great news there, if you have any questions that I don't have the answers to, there they are right there. There's the Brain Trust. So appreciate them being here, but most importantly, I appreciate you being here. A couple of things. We're going to talk about how we're going to go through the evening tonight, the format. As you all know, we have an agenda. There it is right there. And any given time, you can grab comment cards or question cards from up front. We're going to take time to go through each of those after we go through our items. Oftentimes, you might have a question that gets answered as we go through the presentations. But by all means, because I knew we would have a big crowd, just ask that if you have a question or a comment that you put it on those cards. There's a place on there for you to leave your email address if you'd like follow-up after the meeting. So please, by all means, do that as well. Of course, here are the static displays, and we'll go through these one by one, but yeah, feel free to come up and take a look at them, as we go through the meeting. Before we get started, I want to take a couple of minutes because I wasn't sure he would be able to make it this evening, but Michael Rhodes, our Director of Parks and Rec, he runs all the parks, he runs the Equestrian Center right here, is here. I'd like to bring him up for a moment. He's going to give just a brief update on some cool things that are happening with the parks in this area of District 1. So, Mike, thank you very much for being here, man. Take it away.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and what a great crowd. I'll be brief. Some of the highlights over the past year and some of the things we got going on in District 1 currently. We are so proud that Bellevue Park has had a transformation. That's the Bellevue Athletic Park. When I was growing up, it was booming with youth athletics. Over the past several years, it declined. This past winter, we totally revamped that park. And I'm proud to say that baseball was a great success at the park by having teams from all over the county, along with several high schools playing youth baseball and softball at that facility. Bellevue Athletic Complex is on its way back. Football season it's hard to say, but football season is 1 week away from practice, and Bellevue always has a strong number base for football and on the field quality football as well. The Beulah Regional Park right down the street, proud to say we are adding a restroom facility. It is a little bit delayed. Thank you. We will let Commissioner's office know when the dirt is moving, and I hope it's sooner than later, and that is in the queue. It's budgeted for, and we will let the office know as soon as we get ready to move dirt. Equestrian Center has had a great year. I want to say, since we got a lot of the folks from this area here, please know that the Equestrian Center is open to the public every day to go walking. I encourage you, park at Beulah Regional Park, park at the Equestrian Center, and enjoy that loop. There's a lot of walking trails behind the facility that's open for public use. We probably don't do the best job of letting folks know, and that's on me. But please enjoy that facility. Yes, it's an equine facility, but that is a public park for you to use, walking, biking, etc. Again, please enjoy. Southwest Sports Complex, also this past year, we added a restroom facility for the softball girls right next to their softball fields. That was a win. Also, we added 3.5 fields of lights to the soccer complex that wasn't there when the facility was built. Again, that is a huge deal for not just tournaments that come in, but mainly for the local folks that have their kids and grandkids playing at that park. And the Wilson B. Robertson boat ramp. I see him in the crowd. It has been a booming success to add a boat ramp in this area, and we are adding some additional safety lights in coordination with the state, along with Robert Turpin, our Marine Resource Division Manager. We're in the process with Gulf Power and our groups of adding some additional lights on the pier and safety lights around the facility. Again, it's been a great year in this district with parks. Again, some of the things in the queue, like I said, the Beulah restroom, #1 and foremost. Thank you for your time.
And I would be remiss if I did not introduce, and I forgot, I apologize, Wilson. Our former county commissioner from District 1 is here tonight, Wilson Robertson. Welcome tonight. And my good friend, where did he go? My good friend, District 1 school board member, my good friend Kevin Adams is right here. Welcome. Any school-related issues, that's the man to talk to. Okay, so now we're going to move forward. Here we go. We're going to start out with just a few county-wide issues of importance. It's been a number of months since we've had one of these town halls. The last one we actually had it out in Myrtle Grove. Did not have any kind of a turnout per se, and a lot of stuff has happened since that happened. So I'm going to just blast through these really quick. If you have questions on them, obviously put it on a card. We can double back. Got the staff here. First and foremost, though, we've concluded our initial hearings, our initial budget workshops. Instead of like last year, we had 5 that went 10 hours each. This time we had 2 that went 5 hours each. So we got those knocked out. Was very proud about that, very happy about that. Our budget this year going to be about $475 million. It looks like it's about a 4.2 increase over last year's $455 million. We were fortunate this year the tax roll increased in a healthy way. One thing to keep in mind, next year we've got a big problem. Well, it depends on how you look at it. It's a problem from a budgeting standpoint from an elected official, but for you homeowners, it's a good thing. Amendment 1 is a additional homestead exemption. It's going to pass. It's going to give you all $150, $200 savings per year. It's going to cost your county about $5 million in revenue. So I'm working with the administrator and my counterparts on the board to try and find a way to plug that hole by setting up a little bit of a reserve fund. Hopefully, we got a good year this year, set aside a couple of million this year that we have in the bank for next year. So that's one of the things we're working on. The sheriff's budget, as many of you know, and if you haven't heard about this, you've probably been living under a rock, but we had a little bit of a battle with the sheriff's office, and it wasn't our battle, but we had a difference of opinion on the budget. We worked it out, we went through mediation, several sessions, and very, very proud that a couple of months back that we ended that. We made a $9.1 million deal, 4-year deal for the sheriff's officers to receive pay increases, and they're very deserving. So we're very proud about that. The staff worked hard, the board worked hard, and there was a budget appeal filed with the governor, and once we solved that issue and made that deal, that budget appeal went away. So that was a big deal that consumed a lot of our time and energy. Everyone knows the jail blew up in 2014. It took a little bit too long, in my opinion, for us to pick a site and get things rolling, but over the last year, there's been a lot of movement on that. $128 million project. The dirt is turning. That construction has begun, and 2 years from now, God willing, without any big problems, we'll have our new jail, and we will will save a tremendous amount of money because we will no longer have prisoners over in Walton County that cost us a lot of money. And finally, you've probably heard in the media a lot, we've talked a lot about the beach. Now, the beach doesn't have a whole lot to do with District 1, but it does. I mean, it's, I represent this district, but obviously we have county resources throughout the entire county, and that's been an issue that has consumed a lot of oxygen at meetings. But we did have a joint meeting with the Santa Rosa Island Authority. We had several positive things that came from that. One of the most important, most positive things from my standpoint is that once and for all, we finally killed the roundabouts. They're not gonna happen, because they were really not a good idea, frankly, and I don't think they would have done, okay, yeah, I'll take some of that. Yeah, I'll take some. Unless you like them, I was very concerned. I know the tow truck drivers are very upset, but there would have been a lot of wrecks out there. So they're the ones who are upset about that, but not me. So moving forward, so those are the big things, but obviously if you have any other district-wide concerns, anything like that, let me know on a comment card. We'll get with one of our staff members and we'll let you know what's going on. And we'll get you the answers that you're looking for. Now let's talk about this portion of District 1. Everyone knows this area is growing. We have static displays here that list all the development that's in progress, that's been planned, that's been proposed, that's actually moving forward. So what are we going to do to address it? Well, what I have proposed is a Northwest District 1 Advisory Committee. Now, Northwest District 1, if you look at that static display right there, is the precincts of 43, 5, and 68. Those three precincts of District 1 are experiencing the lion's share of the growth. Obviously, most of it in 43, but 5 is getting a lot of it. And there's a big development coming in 5 that's going to really impact 68 and 43. So I've chosen this area because if you look at the county as a whole, this part of our district is really the growth corridor of the entire county. So what does that mean? Well, that means we have infrastructure that has not kept up with the development that we've permitted, the development that's happened. So I am putting together an advisory committee, a 9-member committee. Now, this isn't an ad hoc committee. I brought this before the board. It was modeled on a previous committee that the county had approved, except I tweaked it a little bit, added more members, and done some things. But you can look that up at myescambia.com. And I'm taking applications for it. I've got 7 strong candidates right now. It's a 9-member committee. So we've got another week until I close the applications. So what does that mean? If you are interested in this community, in this part of the community, by all means, grab an application. There's several of them up there. Fill it out and let me know. It's not going to be a real heavy lift. It'll be meetings once every 2 months. I'm looking for citizens who are passionate, who care about the community, and are really looking for solutions. I'm an upbeat, positive guy. Obviously we all get bent out of shape at times, but I always think that if you look on the bright side of things and work together with people and link arms, we can find solutions. And so that's part of the reason why I'm putting together the committee. Now, a lot of people have asked, why put together a committee? Committees are very beneficial. If it's just me shaking hands with a few people here, I'm not getting the full picture. If I have a 9-member committee that lives all over this area, they reach a lot of people at church, at work, at the store. They bring all that together, and then they bring that to me, and it might change my opinion on something. And so I think it's a good thing, and it's another way that I can listen to the constituents, because I try and do that. I can tell you, I served on the school board for 10 years, what Kevin's doing right now, and the school district has been very effective at utilizing committees. As a matter of fact, speaking of Kevin, he served on our half-cent sales tax watchdog committee for a number of years. He also served on the school attendance zone advisory committee, which is a very tough assignment. They're the ones who tell you your kids are going to go to a different school. And very, very effective having a committee, especially when you have to tackle tough problems. So that's up and running. If you're interested, by all means, get an application. You can look online. You can go to myescambia.com, click My Government, click District 1. You'll find the application online. So if you're interested, I'd love to hear from you. All right. Like I said, I've got 7 slots filled. I'm looking for 2 more good applicants, and we're going to wrap this thing up July 31st. So hopefully we'll have our 9 members. The 9 members will be brought before the full Board of County Commissioners for their approval. Again, this committee is legit. I brought it to the Board of County Commissioners, and they voted to approve it. So that's where we're going on that. Now, next we're going to talk a little bit about the Restore Act and the Triumph. I would ask Chips if you. Chips Kirschenfeld, if you're here in the house, if you would just come forward in case I get stuck on something here. But Chips, his office is the environmental office. He runs that department. He has been spearheading our efforts countywide for everything that we're doing with the Restore Act, with the Triumph Gulf Coast. Both of these are big pots of money to help us recover from the oil spill. Again, most of you are probably well aware of that. Last year, in September, the Board of County Commissioners submitted 10 projects, 2 projects per district. That was a unanimous vote, by the way. And the 2 projects for District 1 were the OLF 8 project and the South Dog Track Drainage Improvement Project. The South Dog Track project has been awarded. The OLF Navy transfer has not been approved yet because we have not completed the transfer. Once we get the title to that property, I believe that that application will go forward. Is that right, Chips? Okay. In terms of the Triumph Gulf Coast, we have the Beulah Interchange Connector. Very important project. As you see from these maps and these displays, our area is growing. Right now we've got 1 exit on the interstate. We really, really need to get that done. And I can tell you, I'm your county commissioner and I'm working day and night on that. I'm bothering our elected delegation. We're gonna have a bit of a turnover there this year, but I've already made contact with the folks that I think are gonna be our next representatives. That's my day and night challenge, because as these jobs grow, as these developments happen, we've got a major pinch point. So that's one that we have a $11,250,000 grant application in for Triumph, and that one is moving forward. The application's in progress. In addition, the OLF 8 land swap, that project with Triumph is a $29 million project. Now, once we acquire that property, which we believe will happen later this year, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more on its own, we'll have basically a big open field of land. This grant, which is not taxpayer money, will help us develop it to whatever we intend to do with it. So that'll be a good thing. Chips, is there anything you'd like to add? Please come forward. Yeah.
Just wanted to remind everybody that the oil spill occurred in 2010, so it's been about 8 years. And during that time, Escambia County staff has been working diligently with the Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, to try to seek this competitive grant funding for projects here in Escambia County. And Commissioner, the total awarded as of today to Escambia County and for projects in Escambia County is over $170 million.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chips. Yeah, that oil spill was something else, but our staff has really worked hard. I mean, you just heard it, 170 million and counting. We're going to get a lot more, but that's great news. Thank you for that, Chips. All right, so I am going to move now to the next item on the agenda. We've talked about the advisory committee. Now we're going to talk about the master plan for Northwest District 1. That's going to be the first item of business for our new committee. I've got several things that I'm going to have them work on, but that's the number one thing. When I took this office, there was a group of folks who worked really hard, and they put together a lot of information about Beulah and about what they wanted to see, a vision for it in terms of planning for growth. And I went to a few of their meetings, and I will say, I've been sidetracked. I mean, we have had a lot of things going on. We've had the sheriff, we've had the budget, and I'm not making excuses, but a year and a half in, and I'm going to move forward with this, and it's going to be one of the first things the District 1 Advisory Committee looks at. And I just wanted to let everyone know that it's going to encompass the areas that I've listed up here on this map, 43, 5, and 68. We're going to utilize the input received by the Beulah Master Plan Group. We're going to, importantly, we're going to mesh my vision for this. In fact, can I move around with this? I should check this. Can you hear me? Okay. We're going to get the mics sorted out, and then I can point to the sun. Okay, is it working? Okay. Very good. All right. So this is going to be the study area here. Beulah, Precinct 5, Precinct 68. And when we do the master plan, it's gonna take account of all these areas. There's a lot of rural areas out here. There's a lot of wetlands down here. We're gonna bring in a professional, and there are gonna be, the thing I want to point out to everyone here today is there is going to be multiple opportunities for the public to weigh in. One of the things that worries me about master plans, and one of my initial hesitations was, if you own a 10-acre, 5-acre piece of property out here and you like to put fences up the way you like them, or you want to have animals the way you want them, or you want the roof the way you want them, sometimes when you bring in another layer, a master plan, things change, and then what you're allowed to do can change. So I can tell you this, as your elected official, I'm going to respect your property rights as we go through the process.
But as you can tell, we've got a lot of growth, so we have to do something. Because if we don't, all that land is going to get swallowed up. So I'm all about trying to find the best compromise. But if you own a piece of property out here and you have animals and horses, I can promise you this. I'm not going to take away your rights. We're going to work together with you to find something that works. So just wanted to point that out. And I wanted to point out the fact that there will be a separate master plan done with the OLF property that's right here once we acquire it. And the $635,000 for that is a part of the Restore Act grant application that we put out. So $635,000 to do that. And when we do the master plan for the entire Northwest District, my plan is, and I've spoken to several planners already, they said this is a very, very good way to do it. They're going to account for any scenario that happens at OLF8. Whether we leave it status quo, open field, that's probably not going to happen, but they'll account for that. Whether it turns into a commerce park, or some retail along 9 Mile Road, or a combination, or residential, they will have 4 or 5 different categories. And so they will make sure that the master plan for this entire area takes into account any one of those scenarios. So I just want everyone to know. We're going to get that started first because we have not acquired the property from the Navy yet. That may not happen until later this year. But I wanted everyone to be aware of how those two things mesh. And the professional planners can make that can make those two plans mesh. Okay, so there's that. Now we will move forward to OLF8, the acquisition and the property. I know there are many people here that have a lot of questions about that. And so once we get done with all these main bullet point topics, we're going to go straight to the questions. And we've got the staff here. Myself will answer any question that you want. The OLFX is the property in Santa Rosa County that Escambia County purchased to upgrade as a flying field for the Navy to swap the property. We couldn't just go to the Navy and give them money for it. They have all these rules, regulations, and things like this. They had to have a like-kind facility. The problem was, once we did that, they upgraded the requirements, and that's why we ended up with the cost overruns. To be quite frank and to be quite honest, when I took office in 2016, this was well down the road, and I will admit, it was sloppy. It was sloppy the way it was conducted. It was sloppy the way it was negotiated. It is what it is. We are where we are. I did vote to continue the spending because the appraisal of that property, the last one we had from 2 years ago, is $17.8 million. So even though we're about $17 million into it, the appraised value from a 2-year-old appraisal shows us that it's worth 17.8. And as everyone knows that lives out here, everything is doing nothing but going straight up since then. So I don't think we're going to lose anything, and I have great confidence, and really, I do believe that when we develop that property, the taxpayers will be more than made whole, and it will be a great community asset for the entire community. So the plan there and what we sent to the Restore Act was for a commerce park, and I campaigned on that because jobs are important. I campaigned on it, and I believe in it, and I've looked at the science, and I've looked at the arithmetic and the math. I've seen other comparisons, but I can tell you this. In 2001, and many of you probably lived out here at that point, the county took 58 acres, purchased it from Langley Bell, and they built a commerce park. 58 acres. And I'm sure at that time, I wasn't here at that point, but I'm sure at that time there were some people that didn't want that to happen. They probably preferred that it stay an open field. But they put together the 58 acres, and they had a tenant in mind to come down here. And they worked it, and within 2 years they brought Navy Federal down, 800 people. And then it built from there. And then that entire commerce park was bought out. And now we have 6,000 employees from Navy Federal, going to 10,000. And when they go to 10,000, according to the Haas Center and reported in the News Journal, they will have an economic impact of $3.4 billion. Now, everybody knows it's created some issues, but I'm a big fan of Navy Federal. I think that was a home run hit for Escambia County. I think it was a grand slam. I can tell you I grew up here. When I graduated from high school, I've told this story many times. If you've been here, you've probably heard it. But I graduated from high school when I was 18, and for a guy who didn't have connections, because I had none, there was not a lot of job opportunities. So a lot of kids my age left and were gone for many, many years. My thing now, after 10 years on the school board, seeing graduates every year coming out of high school and knowing that many of them are going to leave because there's not enough opportunities here. One of the things that I want to do is make sure there are opportunities here. And how do you do that? You diversify the job space. When I grew up here, it was the base, it was tourism, and it was the plant out in Cantonment. I mean, there just was not a lot of opportunities, but it's much better now. and it's getting much better. And I think if we do what we said we were going to do, if we stick with the plan and do it the right way, and listen to all the stakeholders, I think we can have a great thing for Escambia County. Imagine if we had another Navy Federal or something like that, and we had this property available to give them. Imagine the number of jobs that we could bring. It's out there. I hear about it all the time. We read about it all the time. Baldwin County killing it, bringing 200, 300 jobs at a time, high-tech companies. We're right on the interstate. We have an opportunity. So I am, that's where I'm at. I'm your commissioner. That's where I'm at, and I look forward to that debate with anyone if they want to have it. And I'm sure there'll be some comments on that one. The next thing I want to talk about, there's another two big things here in District 1. Of all the commission districts, District 1 is the only district that does not have a library. And I just, coming off the school board, kids, we need to have a library. So I can tell you this, we're working right now with the staff, we're working very, very hard. They've been identifying properties, and we're very close to an announcement on that. So stay tuned. But I can tell you this, we will have a library in District 1. We're not going to be the only district without a library. That's coming, and that's going to happen. So thank you. Thank you. It's something that's necessary, and frankly, it's overdue. Next, and very important to Beulah, very important here, we have a firehouse, and God bless these firefighters. We have a volunteer firefighter station here. Great men and women. They're probably, in fact, do we have any volunteer firefighters here in the house tonight? Any of them? Don't be shy. Okay. Well, I respect the volunteer firefighters. As your commissioner, I want to keep this station a volunteer station. Our new chief, Rusty Nail, I've expressed that to him, Administrator Brown as well. But the fact of the matter is we have a lot of growth in this area. We have tall buildings being built out at Navy Federal Credit Union. These guys don't have the equipment and they don't have the facility. So we have put an offer in to purchase their property. We're going to keep that fire station right where it is, unless there's some reason why we can't. We're going to modernize it, we're going to renovate it, and we're going to add the appropriate equipment for this community. So that's coming too. In fact, they have the contract. Jack Brown, the administrator, myself are meeting with the chief this Monday night. So stay tuned for that. There was no movement on that for a long time. We're moving it now. It's going to happen. We're going to get that thing modernized because we deserve it as a community. And I want to point this out too. Once we get that facility fixed, I'm not going to make it a career station. I support volunteer firefighters. If they ask for help, we'll get them a day crew like Century has. But they have more than enough volunteers. They like what they're doing. God bless them for volunteering to do it, and it saves the county money. So I'm never ever going to be the guy that says, "Oh, we got to put career people in there." We've got it handled out here in Beulah, so far as I can tell. And as long as we do, they're going to be there at the new stations. So finally, let's talk about some transportation issues because that is a big issue here in our district. And then after that, we will go to the comments. And I appreciate David Forte. Is David here? Oh, there he is. Dave, do you want to come up for a second just in case there's follow-on questions? Because I can guess there probably will be, at least as it relates to 9 Mile Road in front of the new middle school. First and foremost, the connector project, the Beulah interchange project. David, would you do me a favor, just give an update on that PD&E or where we're at on that connector portion?
Yes.
Would you mind? Or do you got them here? I'll give you a mic.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Or that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. David Forte, Escambia County Public Works. Actually, I could probably just show you on this map if you can see it. So the blue line essentially, here's Beulah Road, County Road 399. The project southern termini would be 9 Mile Road. The project right now, we're in the PD&E, which essentially is a planning and environmental study. We're working with our counterparts at DOT. We'll be doing this study from 9 Mile Road up to the interstate in this vicinity, in this area, as well as further north to a determined location, whether that be Kingsfield, whether that be Muskogee, whether that be even further north, maybe to 29, US 29. The FDOT has assumed responsibility of the interstate, the interchange, whereas the county is responsible for the connections to the interchange. So we're still in a preliminary stage at this point. We're still in the study stage, but we are working with our counterparts, hopefully, to move that project forward as soon as physically possible.
David, let me ask you, put you on the spot just a little bit. So the PD&E phase, how much longer do you think that will be until that portion? Because people ask me, when are they going to start moving dirt?
Sure.
And I don't know the answer. So now that you're here, I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't work for FDOT, but I can tell you that we have weekly meetings with FDOT, conference calls. They're shooting for a summer 2019 timeframe to be wrapped up with their PD&E for the interchange, and we are shooting to be right at that same time for the PD&E completion for the connecting roads to that interchange. So within the next year, hopefully, or maybe a little longer, we'll have the PD&E or the planning environmental stage wrapped up and moving towards design.
And the state, tell me about the state's level of interest. People have asked me that, and I know when you and I have talked, and you said they're very interested in this as they've seen the growth of Navy Federal and these other things that we have going on. Let the folks know what you think, your sense of the interest that the state has in this project.
Yeah, I could easily say, obviously, again, I don't work for the state of Florida, but our weekly conference calls that we have with FDOT, they are extremely interested in the project. I believe it's one of, if not the #1 transportation project for, if not District 3, which is essentially from Tallahassee back west to Pensacola. It's one of the #1 projects for the entire state. The state secretary is up to Governor Scott.
Wow, okay. Well, thank you very much for that update, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. So that's moving, as you can tell, and there is interest at the state, and we're going to try and keep that interest stoked because that's a critical piece of infrastructure that we need. 4-lane project at 9 Mile Road. I live right on 9 Mile Road across from Navy Federal and the airfield, and that's going to be done next year. So, it says right here on my notes, final acceptance winter of this year. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because I do believe that once that's done, that will be a tremendous improvement from where we're at right now. As I come up the hill after work in the afternoons, I mean, sometimes we get stuck in a lot of traffic. Again, everything's a trade-off. You've got Navy Federal with 6,000 jobs. I know there are people in this room, I guarantee you there are people in this room that either work or have relatives that are working at Navy Federal in good jobs. So, I'm a big fan of Navy Federal. Big fan. Been a member since 1981. I think they're the greatest, one of the greatest things that's happened to Pensacola in a long time. I know there are folks that, and I hate to say this, but I say this at every meeting I go to. I met people on the campaign, and I meet them to this day, that say, oh, I wish Navy Federal would have never come. I wish it was just an open field. I cannot have a logical conversation with people that say that. I think I'm the 100% opposite of that. Now, do I agree with everything that happens? Well, we saw the meeting that happened a few months back. Obviously, you win some, you lose some. I'm not going to agree with everyone on everything every time, but overall, I'm a strong supporter of Navy Federal Credit Union, and I look forward to their additional 4,000 jobs that they're going to add to our community. So let's talk about the Beulah Road Mobile Highway traffic light, the one that almost died last year. Let me tell you a story about that. I got an email last year when, after we've had multiple wrecks there, we've had fatalities. It's a nightmare. And I heard in the past someone talked about a roundabout there. I even met someone on the campaign. They said they were going to, but can you believe that one? Well, thank God that one didn't go anywhere. But last year, around this time, that project had the plug pulled out from under it. The funding got pulled. I got an email, it was just a nonchalant email saying, hey, they've redirected that money. I want to publicly thank Doug Broxson, our state senator, Clay Ingram, our state rep, and Frank White, our state rep, because I immediately got on the phone with them and we saved that. Not me, those guys did. And they brought that $1.6 million back, which is minuscule in the $9.9 billion state work plan. But it's political. Oh, we need this money, well, let's pull it from this stoplight in Escambia County. Well, behind the scenes, there was a lot of jujitsu. Anyway, what's my point? Well, the point is, if you go over there right now, if you drive, make a left out of here, you see the construction happening. We're bringing that light. That was needed for a long time. Every afternoon, like I said, all 3 of my kids, I live over there, all 3 of my kids here, trying to make that left turn in the mornings, bringing them to school, it's harrowing. After work, that is going to be a tremendous safety improvement, and that's your government at work. We do things that you don't like, but I tell you what, when that light's up and running, I don't think there's anyone in the room that's not going to appreciate that. So it's coming. Thank you for your patience as we wait. I'm sorry it has taken so long, but I'm glad that it's coming. Beulah Middle School, I know there's some folks here that are very concerned about that. I know my friend Kevin is concerned about it. He and I have talked at length. I've talked to the staff about it. And here's what I'm told about that. Obviously, it's going to open August. It's opening this year. They're going to start taking students. We're assisting with the signage. We've got new school entrance signs on Beulah Church Road and Rebel Road. But 9 Mile Road is a state road. So here's my concern, and I know that it's your concern as well. And I haven't seen the comment cards, but I know that it's probably coming. It's a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit right in front of that middle school. There's a subdivision Keystone right across the street. There's not going to be a crosswalk. That's a problem. So I want to let everyone know in this meeting tonight, I want to announce it.
I'm going to put a full court press along with the staff because we've got to fix that. That's a broken thing. We can't have cars going 45 miles an hour in front of the middle school, right? Am I right? So that's not going to happen. We're going to put a full court press on and we're going to fix that. Now, it's not our decision. It's not the staff's decision, or else we'd make it happen. It's the state's decision. It's FDOT. So the way we fix a problem like that, it's common sense. We get the people's numbers and names, we link arms, we send emails, we make phone calls, and we lobby for it. It's the right thing to do. Because to me, that's a feckless excuse. Look at Mobile Highway in front of Bellevue Elementary. They've got a flashing light. Look at right out here. It's Mobile Highway. They got a flashing light, so we ought to be able to get a flashing light in front of this new middle school. So just in case people are upset, I heard a rumor some folks were coming. I'm on your team on that one. Okay, with that, let me make sure I've covered all my notes. And then, Allison, do you have the comment? Who's holding the comment cards? Oh, okay. Is that all of them? Okay, right on. Okay, so we talked about transportation projects. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to grab these and I'm going to read them right off the top of the list. And I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but I'm going to try. Oh, okay, we got some extra ones. All right, put those right on the stack. All right. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I mean, there's a million things you'd rather be doing. I know it. And I apologize, we haven't had one of these in a couple of months. The last one we had, it wasn't well attended. And a lot of stuff's been going on, but I certainly am glad that you're here, and I look forward to answering these questions. Catherine Trinkle says she's got a comment, and she's attached. She's attached something. You recently wrote that you will only support well-planned, attractive development benefiting all of SCAMU residents. The only way to ensure all those criteria are met is by commissioning a master plan after an independent study of the highest best use of OLF8. I don't disagree with that. Requiring the plan to be created around a light industrial park without such a study and with no guaranteed tenants is, I'm not going to use that word. We might as well go to Biloxi and put all of our restore funds on a lucky number on the roulette wheel. Well, I wouldn't use that much hyperbole. Additionally, you suggest you want to bring more jobs here. Have you studied the labor pool? Yes, I have. 3.8%, functional full employment, yes. But you don't start a savings account when you got a job, right? I mean, when you don't have a job. When you have a job, that's when you start a savings account. When things are good, that's when you maintain it and you keep it going. You want to bring more jobs? Okay. Many of us who reside in Beulah are not ignorant naysayers. You tell everyone that we are. Okay. I don't remember saying that. The majority of us know change is imminent, but unlike your words and actions imply, we do not wish to blindly follow the path a developer has laid out. We expect proper research and planning to ensure the best of anyone's ability that we are getting the best possible return on investment for our community in both terms of the economy and the quality of life. Kathy Trinkle. Well, Kathy, I don't disagree with everything that you've said, but I do agree that a study will happen in the entire, like I discussed earlier, the entire Northwest. Oh, she's going to turn. Okay. I don't know. Is it this one? Hang on. I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, good. All right. As I said, we're going to do a Northwest District 1 master plan. Maybe that's why it's not turned up. And then we are going to do a master plan for OLF8, and it will be studied 8 ways to Sunday. And we're not going to do something out there that's not in the best interest of taxpayers. It's very basic. I live here. I've been here. I bought my house before Ivan, right across the street. I am not going to allow something, as long as I'm in this seat, something to be developed there that's ugly, smokestacks, crushing machines, none of that. It's going to be attractive, just like the Navy Federal development. And in addition, we've got prime real estate in the front. You know, we've lived out here a long time. I'm sure most of you guys live out here too. Where do you go to eat? You got Tom Thumb and Delivery Pizza. How about a nice couple restaurants, please? It's coming. It's coming. We're going to put people to work. These are going to be quality of life improvements. But I don't want people to be concerned. You know, there's alternative facts out there that we're going to have an industrial park. It's not going to be clean tech, high tech, good paying jobs, 40 to 50,000, and a lot of high-end retail in the front that's going to make our lives better. I'm even talking about setting aside some areas in case Kevin and the school district decide to build another elementary school, because guess what? We need another elementary school in Beulah too. All 3 of my kids, right? When I was on the school board, I wanted an elementary, they wanted to bring a middle school. So anyway, I lost that vote. But I do think we will need another elementary school. There's 1,000 kids in this school. There's 20 portable trailers and an 8-pack of modulars. But they're building a second cafeteria. I don't know what they're doing. I'm no longer a part of that group. I'm not involved in the school board, but we're going to set aside some property there because I think we'll need another elementary school in this district. And looking at these maps and this growth, I think it'd be hard to argue against that. So we've got a lot of comment cards, so we're going to move through these. I apologize if they're very similar. I may not give the complete answer. Okay, here is a question from Deborah Brusso. With all the building you are allowing, how much money will go to Malcolm Thomas to increase his budget for buses, schools, etc.? That's a very good point. A lot. I will tell you, when we bring in these businesses, like Navy Federal is a great example, they come in on incentive plans. When we do incentive plans for businesses to bring jobs for the county, we are prohibited from holding back school funds. So that from day one, they pay full school funds. Anyone want to, am I right on that? Wait, where's Jack at? Jack, am I right on that? Absolutely. So I hope that answers the question. Growth out here is great for the schools. All right, did you know there is no longer adequate, this is from Deborah Brusso as well. Do you know there is no longer adequate parking at JJC because of the, JJC, I don't know that. What is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm switching gears. I was thinking that. Well, staff, make a note of that, please. There's
Juvenile justice.
Here's the key, because I have so many comment cards, I just have to read them. But I've got your contact information on the comment cards, and so staff will follow up. In fact, Jack, I'm going to give you this one right now as we speak. Oh, you want to come here? You want to come? Jack's going to address that right now. Boom.
Yeah, we are addressing the parking. We're redoing the parking at juvenile justice also. We're looking at other areas to expand in also. So we are aware of the issues, but anytime you've got a construction project, there's going to be some inconvenience.
Thank you. All right, and he's got your information as well, and they will follow up with you. All right, Diane Enfinger. I am concerned about the new neighborhood being allowed to be put in alongside of my property line. It was wetlands and now will be houses next to my ponds. They overflow into the property wetlands. I also would like to know why we can't keep gates open, and please keep the road up for travel down to Riverwalk behind the dump. Okay, I will have to research this question because I don't know the specifics.
I
But
left my address, so
Okay.
you can look it up, because there was wetlands.
Okay.
And now Ward Home,
we will. I'm not versed in that specific issue. However, we will pass this along to the appropriate staff, who will. Here we go. This is going to be. I think this might be. Hey, this might be a recurring theme, but we're
I've
going
been
to.
there 24, 25 years, my ponds, and anytime we have a hurricane or rain, they will flow.
Okay.
And
Do
they
you want
will
to? You know
flow
the answer to this?
naturally. And they're right next to where you're building, right where they're allowing it.
Sure. One of the things I would tell you is when we have a question like this, we're going to have to look at the individual address and try to figure it out. It'd be very hard for him or even staff to respond to that, but we'll take a look at it.
Put it on there, so.
Yes, ma'am, and we'll get back with you.
Because, I mean, I'm really concerned about the
Thank you.
houses, there's only like 9
Th-
backyards right there next to my pond.
Thank you. Staff's going to follow up. As he says, it's very difficult. These exact circumstances got to be looked up one by one. All right. This one here is Laura Bryant. With the continued growth in our area, what is the plan to widen Blue Angel Parkway? There have been numerous accidents due to individuals trying to pull out alongside the streets and neighborhoods into traffic, and vehicles trying to go around stopped vehicles using the side of the road because of all the traffic delays. Well, we just had a meeting last month. The segment from Dog Track Road up to Highway 98, and then about another quarter of a mile past Highway 98 to the South Bay subdivision, that is in the planning stages. There's going to be sidewalks. The problem is there's no funding for it. The county has set aside $5 million. I'm going to look at David. $5 million for that, but I believe the eventual construction costs for right-of-way and all the design and construction is about $13 million. Uh-oh, he's shaking his head. Come on. Thank God for the staff being here, right? We had a meeting it's interesting you asked that question. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago at Liberty Church down there about that same topic. What's that? Looks like we might have some road.
It's from US.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. From State Road 292 north to US 29. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
From State Road 292 to US 98, FDOT's cost estimate's about $15 million for right-of-way and about $40 million for construction.
Wow, okay, so those are big numbers, and unfortunately, the funding's not identified yet. That is something that's necessary. It's something we'll keep working on. We'll try and get state funds. There's a lot of different methods that you can utilize, but it's something that we're working on. Next question from Kathy Trinkle. When can we expect to see a professional, unbiased, best use study for OLF 8? Will it be before a master plan is commissioned? It will be in conjunction with that plan. When they do the master plan and before the board votes on it, they will do that. Teresa Blackwell. No analysis or study has yet shown that the highest and best use for OLF 8 is a commerce park. So why, when there has been no master plan developed, are you dead set for a commerce park? Well, the answer to that question is Jeff Bergosh didn't wake up one day and get dead set on a master plan. That's been a 20-year evolution. The board was well on its way to doing that before I came in office. I happened to do some research about the commerce parks in our community, and I looked at the facts and the figures, and most importantly, the Restore Act Committee. The Restore Act Committee was put together of experts, citizens, business leaders from around the area. After the 2010 oil spill, they were put together and they served for 4 years. They racked and stacked over 100 projects. And when they put them in silos, environment, economic development, the economic development project that was #1 was this one. So these are experts. So this happened before I took office. They ranked it #1. They submitted it to Triumph. They submitted it to Restore Act before I got on there. But I'm smart enough to listen to the experts. I'm smart enough to look at the data, and I'm smart enough to know it's a winning project. It was the #1 project. Now, there is some folks out there that think there was nefarious conduct or what have you, that the fix was in. I'm not going to countenance that. That happened years and years ago. If it was a problem then, it should have been investigated then. I don't happen to believe it. I think it's nonsense. So that's why. Next question, Will Taylor. With the number of subdivisions being built, is there a plan that matches the timeline of construction, i.e. roads ready when the subdivision is done? Are the developers responsible or taxpayers for improvements caused by development? That's question #1. He's got 2 questions in here. So someone from Development Services want to step up to that one? Horace, welcome to the, Jack's coming over. All right. That's the $1 million question. I hear it all the time, and it's an issue. Here, you take that one. Okay, there you go.
Problem you always run into with development is infrastructure follows development.
We gotta move that up here.
We do not have impact fees in Escambia County. Okay, so the board has not had impact fees for years and years, but what happens is development comes in and the developer primarily is held responsible for roads, and we need to tie in. So that's an issue that the board is grappling with right now, and they're looking at potential solutions.
Okay, question 2. Hang tight. This might be coming your way too. Is consideration given to existing communities when designing new subdivisions, specifically the new subdivision proposed at the north end of Klondike, a cut through on Klondike from 9 Mile to Mobile Highway?
Well, that's being explored.
That is being explored. That's a good one. Well, actually, that is a good one because as a matter of fact, we are working with the developer right now. There's been a proposal made already, and that is for another north-south route between 9 Mile Road and Mobile Highway west of I-10, which is desperately needed. We've got Beulah Road that cuts through and then development on both sides, but no other way to get through. And the great thing about partnering with the private development, like this question has asked, is they'll help split the costs. And in this one in particular, we're in the very, very, very infancy of the planning, but we've had several meetings, and initially it looks like the developer is willing to put in over $2 million between the property they're willing to give us and toward construction and design costs. So, and that was the opening bid. So stay tuned on that one, Mr. Taylor, because we're working that issue. Next up.
Yeah. I think to answer the question.
What's that?
Is there consideration for the communities that are already there? For that traffic to be coming through my community?
Absolutely, yeah. The other part of that I didn't, and you're right, I didn't fully answer that question. There is a 3-phase plan that I'm also working with to improve Klondike Road, coming all the way down from the new development to Wild Lake, and then Wild Lake over to Pine Forest, which is in desperate need of
attention. It needs to be widened with shoulders. Obviously, if you try and come out of Hardee's and make a left, we all know it's difficult. The road's wide. I know it backs up. So but it all comes down to funding. I mean, that's a $9 million three-phase project. That part from Klondike to Wild Lake is $2.3 million, and then from Klondike, Wild Lake over to Pine Forest is another $4 million. You got to acquire right away. There's not a whole lot there. If you look, it's very narrow. You see where the telephone poles are? That's all the property we own. So we're going to have to acquire right away. Again, the sky's the limit on what we can do, but the funding is limited. When you bring in the new development, of course, the rising tide floats all the boats, and then you have more revenue, and you work these projects into the list. But there is consideration given, and there's a rigorous process these things go through, and they look at the level of service on the roadways existing, and they take all that into account, including the stormwater. But there's a development on Klondike that I'm looking at now. I haven't got the package back yet from the planning board. Planning board's approved it. But there are some drainage considerations that I think have not been looked at, and I've discussed that with a number of folks here tonight, but there is consideration given. That's the answer. There's a three-phase plan that's out there. It's going to be expensive. Oh, and phase 3 of that is from Wild Lake all the way down to Mobile Highway. The key is, though, if that happens, initially you got the road, and then as you do the 3 phases, you just improve it. But I understand it's an impact, and there is consideration for that. Wilson Robertson has the next question. Excuse me one second. Wilson Robertson has the next question. In the PMJ recently, it compared commercial, industrial to mixed use for tax purposes. Question, why compare an old, mostly very old military buildings with what will be a new upscaled development at OLF8? Well, that's a very good question, and I really didn't understand that either. The question is, if you look at Milestone, which is a mixed residential subdivision with a few businesses out front, and you look at the value per square foot on an ad valorem tax basis, in other words, the money that the county gets to do its business, you do find that a residential development brings more money. But that's a one-dimensional, one-way. That's just a very, very narrow way to look at that. The comparison was made to Ellison Industrial Park. Ellison Industrial Park isn't the prettiest thing that you've ever seen, right? 123 companies, 3,600 jobs. $144 million payroll. And then when you talk to economists, $144 million payroll cycles through the economy 1, 2, 3 times. And so it ripples through. That funds the gas tax, which helps our mass transit. It funds our half-cent sales tax, which are our local option sales tax, penny sales tax, which helps with all our infrastructure. So I'm a guy, and not only that, if you have a subdivision, I mean, look, we all like subdivisions. I live in one, right? But if you have a subdivision, there is no guarantee that there's outside money coming in. If you build a commerce park, there's a very good chance that one or more or many of the companies are making a product and sending it out and importing the money into the economy, and that's the way you grow the economy. If we all work at local businesses and buying a subdivision, we're taking money from one pocket and putting it in the other. We're not bringing in new revenue. Commerce parks like Ellison, like Marcus Point, like Heritage Oaks, big successes, big companies, thousands of employees, and they bring in money from the outside, and that's what grows our economy overall. So I agree with you. I think it wasn't a very good comparison, and I'm currently composing the rebuttal to that, which you'll see in the News Journal. Next question, Philip Fiorilli. Hey, Phil. Plan to add, boy, I apologize.
Let me just say that's a county.
Excuse me, please. We have a format, please, excuse me. Plan to add more 9-mile road to Mobile Highway, Cornerstone via Klondike Road. Who is going to fund this? The taxpayers, Triumph Funds, or developer that is directly benefiting? That goes to the same question. Here's the thing. We used to have a thing called concurrency. And so when the developers went to build a subdivision, a Home Depot or Lowe's, they had to take and look at the level of service for the schools, the roadways, and the state did away with that a number of years back. And that was supposed to be, became a county decision whether or not you wanted to add it to your land development code. Well, obviously, not all of it made it into the code. And right now, developers spend money, they build infrastructure for the public use, and they create revenue for the county. But I agree, I've lived all over the world, West Coast, overseas, traveled to Europe. Most communities require developers give a little something when you're going to make an impact. And obviously, guys, I'll be the first to admit, maybe we're lopsided on that right now. Maybe we're lopsided. So, but that's difficult. Believe me, that's a difficult process getting that fixed. and it takes time. You know, I've been in office a little over a year and a half. We're trying to do some things. Again, this development that I just spoke about up on Klondike, they don't have to do anything for us. I'm working with them to try and get a couple of $1 million towards some infrastructure improvements. It would be nice to have a better mechanism, and that's certainly a worthwhile goal, but everything's a balancing act. Here's a question from Joey Poithen. Is there going to be a red light at either Rebel or Keystone neighborhoods? Rebel Road's my understanding, they justified a warrant for it, the state? Okay, so at Rebel, but not in front of Keystone. But again, that's one we're working on a separate track with FDOT in terms of the signage and the speed limits and things like that for the school. John Keith, why are plans being made to approach rezoning? Why are plans being made to approve rezoning for more growth and no plans for improvements to infrastructure for traffic control on Wild Lake Boulevard? Now, it's a question we've addressed. There's a 3-phase plan. It's just we don't have the 9.5 million yet. It's a plan that's being worked. In fact, I've asked for information about all those, about Klondike, 8 Mile Creek, Beulah Road. The thing, and that you all know that drive those roads, they're too narrow. There's crowning, right? So you go off the side, they need shoulders, they need to be widened. The problem is when you make them wider, the natural tendency is you create an environment where people speed more. So, what traffic engineers will tell you is you make the roads more narrow if you don't want them speeding. So you've got these roads that people are using as cut-throughs and they're speeding anyway, but they're narrow. I'm working on all 3 of those. I've asked for the level of service. With the state, they rate these things A through F, and some of these roads are C's and some of them are D's. So never enough money to do everything that we need, but those 3 roads in particular, Klondike, 8 Mile Creek, Wild Lake, and Beulah, 4 roads, are on the radar. I would like to speak about rezoning property on the Klondike area Vista. Meredith, are you here? Please come forward. Yeah, we need to talk about that. It's very important. I've spoken with a number of you, and I'm definitely keeping a log because this is a rezoning process, and so it's quasi-judicial. I'm going to let the expert talk about it, but the bottom line is when we talk about this at the Board of County Commissioners meeting, I'm going to have to disclose every email I've got on that topic, and the attorney here is going to tell us why.
Just to follow up, I'm Meredith Crawford. I'm one of the assistant county attorneys. Commissioner Burgash is correct. Because it's a quasi-judicial hearing, as the Board of County Commissioners, they're only allowed to consider evidence that was presented in the record. So what that means is that whatever happened before it gets to them at the planning board stage, and that hearing is all they can consider in making their determination. That's why we caution the commissioners not to speak to individuals outside of the hearing. We want to be careful that they only make that determination based on the record. If you're interested, if you have something to say, if you have evidence to present, you would need to come to the planning board meeting. If you speak at the planning board, those comments, that evidence would be presented to the Board of County Commissioners. That also gives you the opportunity to come speak at the Board of County Commissioners meeting. But because they're not allowed to make the determination based on outside information, and that's really for protection of the public, you want to know why he made the decision he made and not be concerned that he received something, in the back room or the background that hasn't been disclosed. Now, so that's our position, and that's the state of the law. Okay.
Yeah, Meredith, thank you. I'm so glad you were here to explain that, because people get frustrated. They want to talk to you. Hey, you're my commissioner. Can I talk to you? Well, yeah, but now I got to mention your name, and it's it puts me in a precarious position. I want to be able to vote on it, right? So what does that mean? I have to be impartial, and I will tell you, our planning board. Let me just say a little something about the planning board. They got a rough job, guys. They serve for free, and they go in day-long meetings. They have to take PTO from their day jobs, and they do it for free, and they make incredibly difficult decisions that are not popular, and then they pass them to us, and they're like, they take a lot of flack, they take a lot of heat for us. So, but when they make their decision, it is a very deliberative process they go through. They look at 6 different criteria. They go through it line by line, and when the Board of County Commissioners gets the backup, when we get the backup from their decisions, we get a full transcript, and we hear every witness, we hear everything that was said, and I can't speak for my counterparts, but I read them, and we have a very, very good planning board right now, and I'm incredibly thankful to my appointee, Jay Ingwell. I don't know if he's here tonight, but just an incredible guy, retired Marine, stepped right up when I asked him, and he's done one heck of a job. So there's that. Folks, we might run out of time. We got a lot of comments, so we've got this room until, how late do we have this room? Allison, how long? 8 o'clock, okay. So I'm going to keep going, and I would stay longer. We have the room for a limited period of time. I'm going to try and get to all these questions, so I'm going to up the tempo here. This question's from Robert Fiorilli. Mr. Commissioner, you stood in my front yard, asked for my vote, and promised to represent District 1, protect District 1, and serve in our best interest. Are you prepared to limit the volume of development on Klondike Wildlife Road parcel, or is the profit for the developer the overriding concern? Taxes are important, no question, but please don't use it to balance the budget. No, I don't intend to do that. I look at these things again. You know, I'm probably getting very, very dangerously close to an issue that's going to come before us. But I'll just speak generically. I read the backup, and I'm very, very deliberative when I make the decisions. And I read the comments from people that come and speak. And oftentimes those things get remanded back to the planning board. Oftentimes they get denied. So I can tell you, not just everything that gets brought before us gets approved. Again, I've been here a year and a half. These things didn't all just blow up since I got here. I can just explain it. I got thrown into this situation, and I'm not making any complaints. I love this job. This is one of the best jobs I've ever had. I love people. I love serving people. That's why I was on the school board for 10 years. I make no excuses, but a lot of these things happen before my time, and I'm managing them as best I can, and I'm making decisions one by one as they come in front of me. This is the third or fourth question from the same person, so I'll get to that if we have time. Lorinda Wood, this is a new one. Land use, houses per acre, infrastructure. How is everyone going to move with all those houses? Next storm, no way, evacuate. Where are all the roads? It's a mess. Well, she's right in some respects. Yeah, there's some roads that are a mess. And that's the reason why the interchange at Beulah Road is so critically important. That's the reason why four-laning Sorrento is important. Four-laning Blue Angel is important. But I don't have a print press, and we have no shortage of needs. I'm not making excuses, but we have a prioritization scheme. We work with the state, with the Transportation Planning Organization. I serve on that committee. I'm the chairman of that committee. There, believe me, is no shortage of needs. These are totally legitimate concerns, and they are getting worked. The problem is, a lot of these things become legacy projects. In fact, my counterpart in District 4 has served for 12 years on the commission, and he told us at a recent meeting, he said it more than once, that in his 12 years, only 2 projects have come off that list. It's incredibly difficult. It's the government. It's very tough. There isn't shortcuts. There's environmental stuff. There's studies. Engineers get rich. I mean, it's a big, big process. Wilson knows, he's seen it, but we never stop working. And these projects do happen. In the example, you're looking at a 4-lane that's happening at 9 Mile Road. You're looking at a turn signal that happened right on Woodside here, and that's been a fantastic thing. You're seeing a stoplight. It just never moves fast enough. We're always playing catch up. And that's not an excuse, but that is an explanation, and it's a legitimate, fair explanation. Do you support a fair and objective? Do you support a fair and objective master plan for OLF8 that is led by an expert planner, preferably not from this area? Yes, I do. Do you consider the very best use of OLF8 not limited to a commerce park with inputs from all the Beulah residents? Yes, I do. Of 105 people I have asked in Nature Trail, only 8 of them support a commerce park. Totally understand that. I'm going to listen to everyone. Like I said before, we're going to have a Northwest District 1 master plan, and then we're also going to have a master plan for OLF8. We're going to have the experts weigh in. And let me just say one other thing at this juncture about OLF8. It isn't a one-man show. I'm 20% of the vote. I'm 20%. I've made my position crystal clear. I support growing jobs, but I do support doing it in an environmentally friendly way, in a thing that looks nice, attractive. I want to recoup some of our $17 million by selling off the front parcels, and perhaps we bring in some high-end retail, a couple of restaurants. How about this? How about an urgent care facility out here instead of driving all the way to Baptist? Wouldn't that be nice? How about mailboxes, et cetera, or a post office? How about something like that? Those are the sorts of things along the front, landscaping, and then how about mini Navy Federals all over the place, USAA, high-tech assembly, something that looks nice and brings jobs. I think instead of it being a zero-sum game about, is there only going to be a commerce park? How about this? How about we compromise? How about we look at the experts and say, is there a way that everyone can get a win? Can we have amenities for the community on the outside? Perhaps a walking track all the way around? Maybe a great walking track with trails, bike, and then jobs in the middle. I think there's a way. But I will tell you, and I will make this comment at this public meeting, the one thing I will not support on that property is residential, and especially low-income housing. There's been talk at the meeting that I will not support that. I will not support it. I don't think Escambia County needs to build more low-income housing. You know, there's lots of reasons why, and I don't have to explain them one by one for you. We got enough of that. And anyway, next question. I've spoken to many, okay, wait, I already read this one before. When are the developers going to start paying for the infrastructure improvements that are required to support the resulting growth, i.e. town turn lanes, road widening to support? No, I agree with you. We're working on it. It's something you heard from the administrator. You've heard about the changes with the state. That's in our wheelhouse. It's something we got to fix. And I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing, and this will be relayed to my counterparts. Here's a question from Dorian Vance. It just says, I have a comment. And then it says OLF 8. Like, well, okay. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, we have comment cards because we have too many people. Yeah. And I will point out, I knew this was going to be a big meeting. This is the only way we get to everyone's comments. This is just the only way to do it. If people get up, you go back and forth. I've seen this at the meetings. Believe me, you watch the tapes of our public forum. One speaker can annihilate 25 minutes back and forth, and then before you know, this is the way to get through it quickly. Additional comments, you know how to reach me, you know how to reach the staff. You know, I'm very accessible, and I will say this, once a month, since I've been in office, I have a coffee. Many folks that are in this room have been to it. If you want to talk to me and you want to comment, that's an informal way. You sit down and you can talk all you want. Ask Phil, he gets to talk, and he gives me an earful. But anyway, next question, John Kellis. I'm on the Nature Trail Homeowners Board. So far, out of 105 people that have asked, only 8 support a commerce park. All the rest, 97, want a fair master plan to determine what is best for Beulah with inputs from all of Beulah. Most favor is a family-oriented mixed use, much like what Dawson is planning. Well, Dawson is planning right next door to Nature Trail, and then right next door to that is 68 Ventures. And between the two of them, they're gonna have retail, they're gonna have office, they're gonna have medical, apartments, townhomes, condos, and single-family residences. And lots of natural spaces, walking trails. You should see the plans that are coming from the private sector. The private sector are building them. And I'm excited to see some of that progress. And 68 Ventures is the one that's on Klondike that's interested in partnering with us to create a connector road. Okay, here's another one from Teresa Blackwell. Okay, here you go. You have said in your blog that we do not live in a true democracy. I think you're probably taking me out of context, but nevertheless, it's safe to say residents expect you to represent us. Let's see a show of hands of how many in the room tonight support OLF 8 and primarily a commerce park. Well, I really think that question is premature because I don't think everyone has all the complete data. As you've heard, we're going to have studies. We've got the Restore Act committee that has already approved it. I think the time to ask that question is when the Board of County Commissioners makes that decision. And when it comes, as we talk about a true democracy, the context of that statement was this. We live in a constitutional republic. That's what we live in. And that means you vote for a representative, and the representative takes input from the community, but at the end of the day, makes his decision. And then if you don't like the way that guy makes decisions, you vote him out at the next election, and that happens. I mean, we've seen that happen. Incumbents get voted out. But a pure democracy would be every decision I make, I get a room like this, and I say, okay, are you for it? Raise your hand. Are you against it? It wouldn't work, and from that would result anarchy. So I stand by what I said, but you got to take it in context. I mean, obviously, we live in a constitutional republic, not a pure democracy. Next question, Diane Keith. Why are road improvements being planned to start from the Wild Lake Boulevard down Klondike Road and are not planned for Wild Lake Boulevard where the real traffic issue exists the most? Well, as I've said, there's a 3-phase plan that I'm working with the roads department. It's not funded yet, but we're working toward finding a funding source, and it will include that area that you mentioned. Klondike to Wild Lake over to the Pine Forest, and then Wild Lake south on Klondike all the way to Mobile Highway, 3 phases, $9.5 million. Brittany Cruz, what are the plans as far as traffic signals, school zone light signs, and a crosswalk for the new Beulah Middle School? I am concerned for major traffic congestion and safety when the school opens in less than 1 month. Well, as you've heard, that decision's not in our hands, but I'm on your team. Whatever we can do, our staff, we all understand the problem. And I believe that enough of us make enough noise and we can fix that problem, because that's an easy one. That's low-hanging fruit that everyone agrees with. There's no way this traffic should be going 45 miles an hour in front of that school. There should be flashing lights, and frankly, we should probably have police officer out there because people will speed and children will get hurt, and we won't tolerate that. We can't tolerate that. Traffic on Klondike and Wild Lake from Dan Efaw. I think I've hammered that one. It's in the process. We just don't have the funding for it. Norma Wilson, in the proposed rezoning of the property fronting Wild Lake and Klondike, I can't really address that. You heard from the attorney. That one's coming before the board. Well, my opinion is, just as I've stated, I'm going to read the backup. I'm going to make sure that it conforms with all the policies. I'm going to make sure that drainage has been considered. There's areas around that property that I visited recently that have massive drainage problems. And so believe me, I'm going to consider that. I drive around these roads all the time. My good friend Ron Green lives there off Stoddard, and I was out at his place, and I looked over the hill, and that's the area that we're talking about. And he's got a massive draining problem. It's never been worse. And he's concerned about a lot of new impervious surfaces being built north of him. So yeah, you'll see how I deliberate, and you'll see how I operate. I'll do what's fair, I'll do what's right, and I will look at drainage, because drainage and infrastructure are the roadways, they're the biggest problems that we have. Obviously, you're hearing from the comment cards. Those are the number one issues that we've got. Christy Coe has a question. Why, with all of the rezoning and increased traffic as a result of the new developments on Klondike and Wild Lake, are there no plans to fix the traffic flow? Work in that plan. Staff's listening, staff's hearing. Wild Lake, Klondike, it's a problem, and we got to find a way to do it. Status of the traffic light at Beulah Middle, we've talked about that. That's going to be done December of this year. They're working on it right now. They're building it. And it's not just a traffic light. They're making improvements in that entire intersection, drainage, and they're widening the shoulders. Next question. Thank you for the flashing, okay, this is a comment. Oh, this is good. Thank you for the flashing speed control lights by Beulah Academy of Science at Beulah. Well, you're welcome. That's a no-brainer, and I'm glad to do it. Absolutely. It needed it. And appreciate that. I want to make sure they're not sticking together. Lisa Bartusik, please provide traffic control sufficient for the current usage before building additional housing on Wild Lake Road. Okay. Are there plans for Jamesville Road to go through to 9 Mile Road? Why are all the dump trucks going down this road? There is no plan for that. Anyone that lives on Jamesville, we have the model park up there. The bridge had gone out. There was a lot of construction activity that took place out there, and I believe that's the reason. I don't know if anyone from staff wants to speak to that. No. Yeah, I was just saying. Okay. So that's what that is. No, there's no plans to go through. That's not feasible. It might have been looked at for a millisecond, but it's not feasible. Okay, question and a comment. I'm very concerned with storm drainage, the area west of the proposed 40 acres and housing, Wild Lake bridge repair and lake improvements, over $1.5 million spent due to the 2014 flood. What is going to be done to prevent environmental runoff into 11 Mile Creek? That's a very good question. Is Chip still here? I'm going to leave this one with you. Would you mind following up? This is Gary Batchelor. Our environmental department's got to follow up with you on that. It's a very good question. So, thanks. Appreciate that. All right. When is Shelby Lane going to be repaved? And Colby's not here tonight. Dave, Wes?
I'll have to take that with me.
Okay. Well, Wes Marino, he works with Colby in our roads department. He will ask that question. I know that Phil has some interest in that one as well. Staff will get with you on that one. All right. Keystone on 9 Mile Road. Civilization. Boy, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to try here. Keystone is off of the intersection of Keystone and 9 Mile. 2 lights at NFCU are 3/4 of a mile apart. Beulah Road light would be over 1/3 of a mile further. I think you're wanting some more lights out there. I think this is from Mr. Smith, Howard Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're looking for more lights out in that area? Red light. I know they're going to have one at Rebel Road, but I don't think they are going to have one directly across from Keystone into the middle school. Unless Jack wants to address that. Here you go, Jack.
One of the things when we're trying to install lights, a lot of times we have to do a signal study and see if it warrants a red light by the Green Book, which is FDOT has what's called a Green Book, and it sets a standard for when you can install traffic lights and stuff. There has to be a signal study You know, unfortunately, a lot of times when you use the FDOT standard, it's very hard to get lights put in until there's a serious problem. So, you know, we can certainly look at it. We'll take this and see what we can do, okay?
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. That, you know, that's ridiculous, but that's the way the state works. That's why, unfortunately, it took so long to do something at Mobile Highway. They had to have the number of wrecks. And I can tell you, that's the sort of thing that you write your state rep about. That's the sort of thing you talk to whoever our new state rep's going to be in the election, because that's ridiculous. We ought to be able to identify a problem and solve it right away if it's indeed a problem. Okay, here we go. Mr. and Mrs. Tucker, we are the residents in Cedarbrook Drive, and we are very concerned about the potential of a new subdivision at the corner of Klondike and Wild Lake. Situation, traffic, lack of sidewalks, and narrow road is already getting very bad. In the 4 years we are living in the area, the situation has gotten really bad and is very dangerous to walk or bicycle. This will get my due consideration when it comes before the board, I promise you. Remember that, it's on tape. How many of the, next question, Cheryl Deere, how many of these power poles are being installed and where? Oh, are you talking about, you might be talking about the wireless additions to the power poles.
The huge power poles that are on Rebel Road right now.
Oh, those.
How many of those?
That is not a question that I know, but I can tell you what, we can someone from staff interact? We'll get Gulf Power engaged, because I think that's a Gulf Power issue. It might be, unless Wes, you know an answer to that? Wes Marino from our office.
They started popping up there. I just noticed one on North Mile. They're huge and they're ugly.
Yeah, they're very ugly, I agree. They're doing them on Nine Mile Road too. And Rebel Road. Yes, we're going to get the answer, and we'll get to the bottom of it. That's not us though. That's Gulf Power guys.
My concern is when the school buses start coming out on New Church Road and you've got all of that Gulf Power.
I know. That's a legitimate issue, and so we'll get staff to look into that, and we'll talk about that. Okay, next one, Frank Wilson. How is the school board going to handle the rapid increase of students? So far as I can tell, over the last couple of years, we've been losing students, and if you look at last year over this year, it's hundreds and hundreds of students. So I don't know. While I was on the board, it was a steady decline of students, and so far as I can tell from the latest numbers I've looked at, we're down. So I don't know, and Kevin may not be here to answer that question. Kevin, why don't you come on up, man? We got a school board question for you. If you guys would indulge me for 1 second, because they're asking. The question, Kevin, is how is the Escambia County School Board going to handle the rapid increase of students?
Yeah, and I got a paper somewhere. Might have lost it. I'll try to go. I had a community meeting at Joe Meeks the other night, and I had them the information. Right now for Beulah, we got about a capacity of Beulah Middle School. Capacity about 1,200. There's about 800 kids signed up there now. So what staff does, we see the same stuff that they got here. So we can extrapolate how many houses in the area. So after we finish Beulah Middle, and then we got Kingsville is going in. It was hopefully going to relieve this school some, but as you know, there's more subdivisions coming in. So we believe this is going to be back up at capacity sooner or later. We're building another new elementary school on Sorrento Road. So that's all that 1/2 cent. So we'll just keep going, and you know, we have to go along with the growth. So right now in the southern part of my district, I got Blue Angel, Helen Carroll, Pleasant Grove, all at capacity. Then we had a bunch of elementary schools up here at capacity. So so we look at these numbers, and we got the 1/2 penny. We're blessed in Escambia County. That's what pays for this construction. So we'll just keep going. We are always looking at land. There's things I can't talk about where they're actually negotiating on land. So we find land for 5 years down the road on what we're going to do. So that makes sense?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
I kind of put him on the spot there, but he likes that stuff.
This school, yeah.
When will the beauty? Oh wait, Kevin.
What's your?
I think we got the school questions coming now. Here's the next question for you, Kevin.
This is a good question, because I want to know the answer to this too. When will the Beulah Elementary School portables be removed? Portables should be a short-term bridge to a long-term solution. Good luck.
It's really on you, bud. It's really on this one here, because as long as these neighborhoods keep coming in, it's as soon as we, I mean, now in a perfect world, if we didn't have another subdivision going in, I wanted those portables out of here. But as I'm seeing all these houses coming in, and as superintendent's seeing it and board, no, they're not coming, and we may have to add more. We're going to do some construction this school. We're going to be building a bigger cafeteria, and there's other stuff coming in. That'll come in the summer part probably. But anyway, that's the big deal. Yeah, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have portables, but with this rapid growth, it is rapid, the portables probably be there for a while. Okay?
That's an honest answer. Thanks, Kevin. All right, we've got just a few left, folks, and I appreciate you all staying, and I appreciate your patience. As you know, I'm trying to get through as many of these as we can. Paul Van Ramonic, I may be mispronouncing that. Is the county looking to allow future developers to build 10 homes on 1 acre, which I think I read somewhere? As we widen the roads, are they looking to include sidewalks also? Hey, the sidewalks are a great idea. Most parts of the country, when you build a subdivision, you got to put sidewalks in here. We don't do that. That's something that's been discussed at the board meeting. That's something that we're going to be talking about. That's going to be talked about. Developers don't like that because it costs them money. But I know nice subdivisions in other parts of the country, you want to build one, you know, you're going to add sidewalks and you're going to make them walkable, and I support that. So hopefully we can get to a point where that becomes part of the process. That was all of it. Oh, okay. Oh, 10 hours break. Okay, I don't know exactly which one we're talking about. If that's, is that gone to the planning board? I don't know. Okay, it's not going to happen. We're going to hear from the horse's mouth right here. Horace Jones, he's the director of this department. Isn't it great when staff's here? Here you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, that rezoning case has not been heard by the planning board. John, what will that case be heard by the planning board? August 7th. So if you want to attend that meeting, please be at the planning board meeting on August the 7th. And you can hear the facts of that case.
Where are the signs going to go up to tell us that?
The signs were, it was posted last Saturday. Some people have already received cards. But I'm telling everyone, August the what? 7th. All right.
And just to be very, very clear about that, the board members, people like myself, I don't know about these until I get them, unless I happen to see them or folks like you contact me. And they do that because of what you heard from the attorney. They want to make sure that when we see these things, we're basing our decision on the evidence and not anecdotal stuff that we're hearing. But did that answer your question? I believe that answers your question.
And you know, whenever y'all do those subdivisions, please have one way in, one way out. Crime is going nuts out.
Yes, ma'am. I've heard that from many people, yes. Dorian Vance has a question. So the Restore Act ranking by Alan McMillan that was financed by Jim Cronley, the developer, who originally pushed for this exchange. Do you think this is ethical? Well, like I said, I've discussed that earlier. There was a Restore Act committee. It was impaneled in 2012. They served for 4 years. They looked at over 100 projects. I know that Mr. McMillan's vote was not the highest total. I think he was the 3rd highest. I think he looked at all the projects, and I certainly would not want to impugn his reputation, and I don't. I think he has explained that. I think he said he got information and he learned as he went along, and when he made his final determination, he put the score that he felt that it deserved, and I take him at his word. And you know, I dislike the insinuation. You know, if folks had a problem with it back then, they should have said something back then. That's what I say. So yeah, I don't buy into that. Paul Radmarock, another question. Any chance of getting a post office built in Beulah? Well, you heard me earlier. That's a difficult process. You know, the post office is actually closing branches around the country, but we could get something like a Postal Annex Plus or a UPS store. Yeah, and maybe, yeah, and that could be in the front. And that would be, believe me, that would be a great addition, because right now you got to drive all the way up to Cantonment, or you got to go down to Myrtle Grove, or you got to go trust UPS store. It'd be great to have something here. We'll definitely have enough citizens to support it. So I would look for that in the future in one of the private developments or on the front of the OLF space over the next couple years. Jennifer Nichols has a question. With all the growth and housing development in our area, the infrastructure also needs to be considered for those of us that live off of Wild Lake. Yes, we already have to wait 20 minutes to get to the interstate. Is there a plan to widen Wild Lake to alleviate the concerns that our community has regarding this? Yes, we are looking at that. It's more than a $9 million project in 3 phases, but it is being looked at. We got to find a way to fund it. Dan Efaw has a question. With new development of 10 units per acre on Klondike, the road will not handle 300 new homes. It will reduce home values if you put 10 cheap homes or apartments on that location. Limited to no more than 4 per acre. That one's coming before the board. It will certainly get consideration based upon all the facts, I promise. Question here, and we're getting down to the last few, and unfortunately, I know that we're running out of time too. Okay, we've got some time, that's good. I live directly behind OLF 8 and definitely do not want to walk out of my door to apartments. I agree with you. I don't support housing on that development. I don't. There's enough, that's the private market. The private market builds housing. The government, we should not be in the business of spending the money we spent for that property to either build housing or turn it over to a developer who's going to double his money on our back. The deciders that decided to spend the money to get that did it with one thing in mind, creating jobs, economic development. That's the vision I support. So I'm with you. I won't support that. If they decide to do it, I'll vote against it. I'm on tape. I'm on record. I'm saying it. And in particular, not low-cost housing either. Apartments tend to bring property values down as they fall apart. Schools, restaurants, these also bring down the value with time. May be great. Please no apartments or a Walmart. Mass transit is not in this area. Mass transit, that's something that we're looking at, especially as Navy Federal grows and we know that we don't have the road infrastructure to support it. Can you believe that we don't have any routes that bring the employees out here? We're certainly looking at that. That could be something. Restaurants in the front part, that's what I'm going to support. Obviously, we're going to have a master planner look at the site, but I believe the frontage, the most valuable acreage, and I don't have a map of the OLF property, but the most valuable acreage is going to be along 9 Mile Road right there, and I think that the county really stands to recoup more than half of what we've put into that property just on the frontage acres because of the growth that we've had in this area. So I do support that. Okay, Dorian Vance, bonus question. OLFX is already $17 million. You expect to build OLF 8 with only $12 million more. No, $29 million. We have a Triumph request for $29 million, $29.8 million actually. So, and that's not taxpayer funded. That's money from the oil spill. I'm going to read the rest of the question. Isn't the Navy requiring more things needed at the OLFX? How much over the budget will we be? No, right now we're standing at 17.3. There was a panic about a change order for additional fiber optic out there at about 150. Help me out, Jack.
188.
188 or 98?
188.
188. And so where are we at on that? Do you want to? There's been cost overruns. The Navy has had requirements. The requirements got higher, and that was how this whole thing happened, to be quite honest. Hang on, Jack's going to answer that.
Well, one of the things about cost overruns, the National Defense Act said that the Navy would bear no cost, and the Navy gets to set the standard of what the new field is, so you have to build to their standard. Thankfully, Matt Gates and the commissioners worked with the Navy to try to soften some of the blow, but when you look at just recently, up until 2 weeks ago, we had planned to put in copper. We had negotiated that with AT&T. We've got email traffic back and forth, and then several weeks ago we got a notice from AT&T that they no longer want to put in copper. They want to put in fiber optics, which will cost us about $188,000. So we're exploring options with the Navy right now, and I don't think we're going to do $188,000. We'll work with the Navy about wireless and some other options. So, you know, it was. I tried to keep the county commissioners informed, so I sent it out, and then as it was being discussed, I think it was a little premature to talk about it because we're still working it at a staff level.
And what that means is we're trying to negotiate that price down and work around it. We've had these things come up, but believe me, we're at the finish line on this project. I mean, we really are nearing the finish line. As I said earlier in the presentation tonight, November 13th is substantial completion, barring any weather issues that delay it. And hopefully in December, that property will take the title to it. And then, we figure out what's best for the county, what's best for the community, and what's the highest and best use, and the most return on the dollar for the taxpayers, and that's what we do. Next question, Rose Black. What is planned for the wetlands on 9 Mile Road when the OLF8 gets developed? When I drive by, I like to see the water lilies. No, I like to see them too, and the wetlands, there's a lot of requirements, and I don't believe the wetlands are going anywhere. We have to maintain them. And I think if you do anything to them, you have to mitigate that, which means you have to buy property somewhere else. And it's a big process, but Chips is here somewhere, and I certainly wouldn't want to speak for you. So, is that right? What did I say? Okay. So, yeah, see, I got that one right. So they're going to be fine. The wetlands are going to be there. Okay. Carol McCulley. She has a comment. We do not have infrastructure, road, sewage, school for that amount of traffic. There are times you cannot make a left turn to Pine Forest Road from Wad Lake, from back up to Pine Forest. There is no way to add that many more cars. You're absolutely right, and that's going to be something that we look at, because the infrastructure in that particular area is deficient, and we know that because we drive that road, and we go to Hardee's and we can't get out, or we go to the other restaurants, the Waffle House, and you can't get out. Teresa Blackwell, what was the highest and best use that the appraisal for OLF8 in 2016 recommended? I can tell you it was residential with some retail. So how does that value relate to development as a commerce park? There was assumptions in that estimate. The total was 17.8. I think there was some assumptions of residential in there, but there was the lion's share of it was commercial. We can look at that. It's a 172-page report. I don't have it memorized, but I went through that, and the bottom line is it's worth that was 2 years ago, 17.8. So
that use is considered in that value?
It is.
Residential?
It is. It is. But I don't support that. So, well, folks, I appreciate everyone's attendance. That's all the comments.
I have one more to do with Restore.
Okay, well, we'll take one more comment from you, Teresa. We'll take your third or fourth one. Write it on a card.
I already did. It should be in your hand there.
Well, what was it about? What was the question?
There was a comment.
I don't think there's any way I'm going to find it here.
I can say it.
Yeah, just say it.
Okay. The Restore Act, which is our agreement with the Treasury, the county was required to take into consideration all the negative comments and summarize those, which they did in a section. And then they're supposed to consider those as they say what the project is. So in that part of our agreement with the Treasury, it says, although the initial concept for OLF8 was a commerce park, all options are available for OLF8.
Chips is here. He's going to address it. Chips, go ahead.
Teresa, as you mentioned correctly, the Restore Act does require a 45-day comment period after those initial proposals are decided and voted on. During that 45-day comment period, there were comments that talked about traffic, talked about public input, wanted the process to be as transparent as possible. And so staff took to the Board of County Commissioners the draft applications that we were going to submit to Treasury to address those comments. And those draft applications that we sent in for these projects, and in particular OLF8, addressed those comments by saying that it would be a very public process, that there would be charrettes, that there would be public meetings, that a consulting firm, a planning firm would be hired to look at all the uses and to make sure that whatever development goes there is something that the community wants.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. So again, it's all part of the plan. We're going to have there will be multiple opportunities, right, Chips, for public to weigh in, just meetings just like this, and we'll have boards, and people will be able to speak, and all the input will be taken. Again, I'm just one guy. I'm 20% of the vote. We're going to have public meetings. We're going to have all kinds of things, and when it all comes out of the sausage hopper, 5 of us are going to vote for it, and hopefully we get the best plan for the people. But I can tell you for my vote, it's not going to be something that looks bad. It's going to be something that's attractive, that's functional, and that it meets the highest best use. And again, I want to thank Beulah Elementary School for letting us use this facility tonight. I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I've got my business cards right here. I answer my phone when you call me. Send me an email. I'll return my emails. If you have questions of the staff, I'll forward them. I appreciate everyone coming tonight, and thank you very much. Good night.